Welcome to Ellis B. Feaster's Radio Air Check and Classic TV channel.
That was tragic, by the way.
Yes. Oh.
But he didn't talk about what happened at Fox News, did he?
Well, why don't we just leave that a mystery?
Oh, this is very exciting. Oh, this is great. You know what's ironic is that the whole country is arguing about gun control, and it's the huge story down in South Florida. And they had the gun show there last week, and it did record numbers.
You know, whenever things like this happen, whenever they threaten to take guns away, people flock.
To buy guns.
That's exactly what happens. You like that, Sid?
I do like that.
I'm thinking of getting a gun.
You know, it may be the Bernie and Sid show now. Maybe it.
You know, I wanted to ask you this time, man. The more I watch these shows this week, and I know nothing about guns, you know everything about them. Everybody's freaking out about the AR-15. The more shows I watch, the more I found out it's not really a heck of a lot more powerful than most rifles. That it's painted black and it seems to be the weapon of choice. But the idea that it's a killing machine more than any other rifles, people who say that don't know anything about guns.
Well,
I don't know. That's everybody to almost every show said the same thing.
Anybody that knows anything,
about guns, that this whole deal about AR-15s is nonsense. It's a rifle like a million others.
it's not nonsense.
Okay,
but it's not an automatic weapon. You have to pull the trigger every time you want a bullet to fire. But if you can put a clip in it with 30 bullets, you can get off 30 bullets pretty quickly. So.
But can't you do that with even a 22 or a Glock or add certain things?
Well, I have a Glock. You can't get a 30. You can't get a 30 bullet clip for a Glock, and a Glock is a pistol.
Okay.
So. I mean, it'd be a good idea. I mean, you don't need an AR-15 for anything. So. They ought to ban those, whether they're automatic or not. I mean, and I'm a gun owner and want to remain one. But I see no reason to have those. But technically, they are right. So.
Well, you don't have an AR-15, but you've got other rifles, right? Other guns.
Damn right.
Damn right.
I have a 308 with a scope on it.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I may.
And I have a shotgun. I have a. Don't worry about it. What else I have.
I may will fill you full of lead. That's all you need to know.
Right. David Koresh called Imus. What do you got, Don?
Well, I'm armed.
So much for your background checks.
Oh, no.
I went downtown here to Brennan, bought me a gun the other day, or a few months ago. I walked in, and they did a background check called somebody. No. Next, I walked out with a gun.
That was it?
Yeah, I mean, I have a license to carry a gun in New York City, by the way, and in Texas. But so the background check is not much, and I guess they catch you. I mean, I wouldn't know because I'm obviously going to pass any check, but I guess they find. I guess there's a way to find people who can't pass it with that sort of a cursory background check, but because I don't know who they're calling, and I'm not making any sense.
They got to tighten that up. I mean, there should be a day waiting period at least while they look things up. No, just calling up, Joseph Abood says the I-man. Okay, fine. Yes, let's sell him a gun.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with Bernie. There ought to be some way. You shouldn't be able to walk in and buy a gun. I mean, there should be some waiting period. What if you just torqued off, decide to go down and get a gun and go kill somebody? Well, give yourself 24 hours to sober up, or think about it, or whatever. But I mean,
or for them to do a more extensive check.
Right.
I mean, you have to go through hell to get a driver's license, don't you?
Yeah.
There's like. You have to bring it's a point system. You have to bring like 7 different documents to prove who you are.
Points of ID,
Yeah.
It ain't easy.
No.
I mean, it's ridiculous trying to get a driver's license. You can go ahead and buy a gun with not any problem at all. It ought to be as difficult to get a gun license as it is to get a driver's license. You have to demonstrate to get a driver's license that you can drive. Don't you? Answer me.
Yeah, you got to take the
God
driver's
damn
ed test. Absolutely.
Parallel parking, the whole deal.
Right. K-turn.
It's a whole.
Come on. Kidding me? Blindfolded?
Check those mirrors.
That's right. But to make it clear, with all the weaponry you've got, you've never shot anyone or anything, right? Never. You've never had to.
No, wait.
what?
Let's not be hasty.
What happened?
Well,
There was that one time, right?
There was that little animal out there.
I shot the bunny.
Oh, we
Shot a bunny.
And then finished it.
Then I had to go up and finish the bunny off.
Did you say
That's
something? Did you go like Clint Eastwood, like, make my day?
No, I felt bad about it.
You
Terrible.
felt bad. Okay. All right.
I was trying out my 308 to see if it worked. It works.
Oh yeah.
That's,
yeah.
that's
The problem is with shooting these animals, which I do not believe in, and saying, well, you got to shoot it for food. Now, shut up. It's what they have HEB and Whole Foods and stuff like that. But the problem with shooting these animals is you don't kill them with the first shot most of the time. People say, well, it was a clean shot. And I tell them, no, stop it. That's ridiculous.
Humans too, by the way. Unless
So-
you got a great shot. Yeah. So how many times did you go back and shoot? After that, you shot the rabbit once more. You finished him.
Yeah.
and stomped him.
Did you stop?
Well,
him?
no, I didn't do that. But I felt terrible about it. So.
Yeah. So the
And I,
rabbit.
and I still, I mean, I didn't have to say anything about it, but nobody knew I did this. But
Yeah. Got a conscience.
Yeah.
I don't think you'll ever watch Bugs Bunny again.
well, I'll tell you what's also. I mean, you know, when I was in the Marine Corps, I was 18 years old or 17 years old, 17, and the first time I was stationed at MCRD in San Diego. I mean, that's where I went through boot camp, and I was stationed in Camp Pendleton. And I was on, my dad owned an apartment house, an apartment building up on Alvarado Street in Los Angeles. And I used to go up there and stay, and I must have been just late 17 or maybe early 18. And I had a fake ID, of course. And I was in this bar, and I picked up what I thought was this girl.
Oh boy.
Oh.
There we go.
And of course discovered when I was making out with her,
Him.
that it was, well, I never had to say that.
That's fine.
I didn't have to tell anybody that. I went for all those years and never said a word about it.
Well, how do you explain the second date?
Right.
You thought it was a gun.
And then one day I just decided, talking on the radio, talking to you, and I decided to tell you. Well, I don't know why I did that. So then, of course, I had to endure the rest of my time with you bastards making fun of me, particularly Bernie. So.
Well, I mean, you maintained contact for a long time.
No, that's a lie.
Christmas cards.
Sure.
Anyway.
Well, it's good. This is like a confessional, I guess, to a certain extent. The radio.
That man was making out with Caitlyn Jenner.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I don't know about that, but
Well, how'd you find out?
developer-
How'd you find out exactly? What was the move?
The stubble. The Adams Act.
that was the first. That was the first hint.
It was the tree. That ain't lifesavers?
That's really. I really don't want to discuss this anymore. It's very troubling to me.
Oh boy.
So, well, no, it was a stubble. I said, what is going? Well, I was a little hot-tempered in those days, and in the Marine Corps. I mean, I didn't beat the hell out of the guy, but well, whatever. The date didn't end well.
No happy ending.
Thank you, Bernie. That's
Can I call you?
17 after the hour here in the Imus program. So I've told you stuff over the years that I don't know why I did, but I just did. Anyway, and here we are.
Well, what about the time, the right sex now, when you were on stage with naked females, and you were the judge at the, was it the bareback, the all naked women?
Miss Bear America.
Miss Bear America. How about that?
What about it?
You were the judge for that, and it was all naked ladies on stage?
Yeah.
But you only did that once, is that right?
Yes.
What was that like? What was that experience like?
Well, it wasn't great because a friend of mine who was, what the hell he did, he'd gone to Yale, and then he opened a porn theater on Broadway, the old Broadway. And he asked me if I had a good waste of a fine Yale education. He asked me if I would MC this Miss Porn America, Miss Bear America. Well, I said, sure, yeah, why not? I mean, I would do anything in those days. And so I did this, but they weren't any, I don't know, they weren't Playboy models, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, it wasn't? Okay, so it wasn't like Trump, Miss America, Miss Universe.
No,
like
they
that.
were all pigs, so.
Ew.
So that's an elegant way to describe it, Imus. What are you going to do about it?
I saw the video. They weren't that bad. Rob, right? They weren't that bad, were they?
No.
No.
Well, I guess they were okay, but no, I mean.
I-Man has a high bar.
Yeah, that's very...
Yeah, no stubble.
Need some class.
No stubble, did you say, Tony? Anyway, so here we are.
You were also one of the very first, if I'm right here, one of the very first VJs, if not the very first one ever on VH-1, right?
I signed on VH1.
That's right.
You started it, 1985.
Yes, I was the one. We
was
went
it?
over to, Bob Pittman hired me, and we went over to some place in New Jersey because that was the only place they were up then on television. And I signed it on. I forget when it was, some time of night it was, playing air supply videos and all this stuff. So it was fun.
Was that before MTV, about the same time? I don't. Which came
Well,
first?
no, it was after MTV.
After, right? Okay.
But VH1 was part of the MTV deal.
A spin-off.
Right.
It was going to be their adult version of MTV.
Got it.
So,
Well, the I-Man signed on VH1 and WFAN.
That's right. Well, they made the switch on this, right?
it is 31 after the hour here on the Imus in the Morning program. I was talking to Sid. Why? When's the last day again?
March 29th. Thursday, March 29th.
I'm not doing any interviews with anybody, so couldn't forget all of that. And I will have something to say to you, just to you, around 7:05. What is that? A Thursday?
Yeah.
7:05 that morning.
You take Fridays off.
So Sid thinks that I don't recognize what a big deal this is because I'm caught in the middle of it. Is that what you think?
Yeah, but you even admitted this morning that over the weekend you started to realize, damn, this is a pretty big deal. 4 decades of being a legend in New York City, that's not a small thing.
Well, it isn't that. I'll save this for then, but I really had an epiphany about what it means. It's not, it's just a fact, but it's kind of interesting. It was an interesting realization that that I came to. So I was talking to Lupica about it, and he said, "Man, I was talking to him about how I feel about it," and he said, when I got done, he said, "Man, that's what you ought to say when you sign off."
Is that what he said?
Yeah.
Okay, and then you know it's good.
And so I hadn't thought about it until that point. Well, he asked me what it meant. I said, well, I wasn't sure. Till I just got, just spontaneously talking to him. So, whatever. It's not a big deal, but yeah, I guess it is. But it isn't the last time I'm going to talk on the radio, but it's the last time I'm doing Imus in the Morning, because So I was thinking more about what it meant at the end of the Imus in the morning program. And I realized that's not the significance of the time of the day. And, I would have had more time to think about it, but Cumulus pulled the rug out from under me by declaring bankruptcy. And Sid asked me if I was angry about it. No, I'm not at all. I mean, you don't expect any valor out of people who are in radio. And, I wasn't. I mean, that's just the way it is. I remember when I got fired at NBC back in the first time, back in 77 or 78. Charlie Warner, one of the worst pieces of crap on the planet. He was the general manager of the radio station. He was a little bitch,
Oh.
So they fired me, and he calls me in the office, want me to stay on the air a couple of more months, which I did. But he said, "But what do you want us to tell people?" I said, "Well, how about the truth? How about you fired me?" So, but they were willing to say whatever I wanted to say, Well, that's what I wanted to say is what happened. And then the day before, I thought was my last day, they took me off the air. So I didn't have that last day. But then Charlie Warner got fired, and the great Bob Sherman took his place, and Bob Sherman brought me back from Cleveland.
You got the last laugh.
And we burned their house down.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. And Charlie Warner sent me a note. He was teaching school someplace, and he sent me a note, and he was out of radio, but he used an old NBC memo pad he had with his name on it. And I wrote him back and told him he was no longer authorized to use the stationery.
Yeah.